The new god of Utopia. The new gods of Utopia. The new god of Utopia. The new goddess of Utopia. The new goddesses of Utopia. The new goddess of Utopia. The old god of Utopia. The old gods of Utopia. The old god of Utopia. The old goddess of Utopia. The old goddesses of Utopia. The old goddess of Utopia. The greater god of Utopia. The greater gods of Utopia. The greater god of Utopia. The greater goddess of Utopia. The greater goddesses of Utopia. The greater goddess of Utopia. The lesser god of Utopia. The lesser gods of Utopia. The lesser god of Utopia. The lesser goddess of Utopia. The lesser goddesses of Utopia. The lesser goddess of Utopia. The higher god of Utopia. The higher gods of Utopia. The higher god of Utopia. The higher goddess of Utopia. The higher goddesses of Utopia. The higher goddess of Utopia. The lower god of Utopia. The lower gods of Utopia. The lower god of Utopia. The lower goddess of Utopia. The lower goddesses of Utopia. The lower goddess of Utopia. The greater spirit of Utopia. The greater spirits of Utopia. The greater spirit of Utopia. The lesser spirit of Utopia. The lesser spirits of Utopia. The lesser spirit of Utopia. The higher spirit of Utopia. The higher spirits of Utopia. The higher spirit of Utopia. The lower spirit of Utopia. The lower spirits of Utopia. The lower spirit of Utopia. The major god of Utopia. The major gods of Utopia. The major god of Utopia. The major goddess of Utopia. The major goddesses of Utopia. The major goddess of Utopia. The minor god of Utopia. The minor gods of Utopia. The minor god of Utopia. The minor goddess of Utopia. The minor goddesses of Utopia. The minor goddess of Utopia. The superior god of Utopia. The superior gods of Utopia. The superior god of Utopia. The superior goddess of Utopia. The superior goddesses of Utopia. The superior goddess of Utopia. The inferior god of Utopia. The inferior gods of Utopia. The inferior god of Utopia. The inferior goddess of Utopia. The inferior goddesses of Utopia. The inferior goddess of Utopia. The ancestor god of Utopia. The ancestor gods of Utopia. The ancestor god of Utopia. The ancestor goddess of Utopia. The ancestor goddesses of Utopia. The ancestor goddess of Utopia. The ascendant god of Utopia. The ascendant gods of Utopia. The ascendant god of Utopia. The ascendant goddess of Utopia. The ascendant goddesses of Utopia. The ascendant goddess of Utopia. The descendant god of Utopia. The descendant gods of Utopia. The descendant god of Utopia. The descendant goddess of Utopia. The descendant goddesses of Utopia. The descendant goddess of Utopia. The transcendent god of Utopia. The transcendent gods of Utopia. The transcendent god of Utopia. The transcendent goddess of Utopia. The transcendent goddesses of Utopia. The transcendent goddess of Utopia. The past god of Utopia. The past gods of Utopia. The past god of Utopia. The past goddess of Utopia. The past goddesses of Utopia. The past goddess of Utopia. The present god of Utopia. The present gods of Utopia. The present god of Utopia. The present goddess of Utopia. The present goddesses of Utopia. The present goddess of Utopia. The future god of Utopia. The future gods of Utopia. The future god of Utopia. The future goddess of Utopia. The future goddesses of Utopia. The future goddess of Utopia. The authentic god of Utopia. The authentic gods of Utopia. The authentic god of Utopia. The authentic goddess of Utopia. The authentic goddesses of Utopia. The authentic goddess of Utopia. The synthetic god of Utopia. The synthetic gods of Utopia. The synthetic god of Utopia. The synthetic goddess of Utopia. The synthetic goddesses of Utopia. The synthetic goddess of Utopia. The progressive god of Utopia. The progressive gods of Utopia. The progressive god of Utopia. The progressive goddess of Utopia. The progressive goddesses of Utopia. The progressive goddess of Utopia. The regressive god of Utopia. The regressive gods of Utopia. The regressive god of Utopia. The regressive goddess of Utopia. The regressive goddesses of Utopia. The regressive goddess of Utopia. The ordinary god of Utopia. The ordinary gods of Utopia. The ordinary god of Utopia. The ordinary goddess of Utopia. The ordinary goddesses of Utopia. The ordinary goddess of Utopia. The extraordinary god of Utopia. The extraordinary gods of Utopia. The extraordinary god of Utopia. The extraordinary goddess of Utopia. The extraordinary goddesses of Utopia. The extraordinary goddess of Utopia. The static god of Utopia. The static gods of Utopia. The static god of Utopia. The static goddess of Utopia. The static goddesses of Utopia. The static goddess of Utopia. The dynamic god of Utopia. The dynamic gods of Utopia. The dynamic god of Utopia. The dynamic goddess of Utopia. The dynamic goddesses of Utopia. The dynamic goddess of Utopia. The land god of Utopia. The land gods of Utopia. The land god of Utopia. The land goddess of Utopia. The land goddesses of Utopia. The land goddess of Utopia. The sea god of Utopia. The sea gods of Utopia. The sea god of Utopia. The sea goddess of Utopia. The sea goddesses of Utopia. The sea goddess of Utopia. The sky god of Utopia. The sky gods of Utopia. The sky god of Utopia. The sky goddess of Utopia. The sky goddesses of Utopia. The sky goddess of Utopia. The god of Utopia. The gods of Utopia. The god of Utopia. The goddess of Utopia. The goddesses of Utopia. The goddess of Utopia. The half god of Utopia. The half gods of Utopia. The half god of Utopia. The half goddess of Utopia. The half goddesses of Utopia. The half goddess of Utopia. The vessel of Utopia. The vessels of Utopia. The vessel of Utopia. The name of Utopia. The names of Utopia. The name of Utopia. The person of Utopia. The persons of Utopia. The person of Utopia. The persona of Utopia. The personas of Utopia. The persona of Utopia. The personage of Utopia. The personages of Utopia. The personage of Utopia. The personality of Utopia. The personalities of Utopia. The personality of Utopia. The personification of Utopia. The personifications of Utopia. The personification of Utopia. The image of Utopia. The images of Utopia. The image of Utopia. The imagination of Utopia. The imaginations of Utopia. The imagination of Utopia. The belief of Utopia. The beliefs of Utopia. The belief of Utopia. The thought of Utopia. The thoughts of Utopia. The thought of Utopia. The word of Utopia. The words of Utopia. The word of Utopia. The action of Utopia. The actions of Utopia. The action of Utopia. The reaction of Utopia. The reactions of Utopia. The reaction of Utopia. The feeling of Utopia. The feelings of Utopia. The feeling of Utopia. The situation of Utopia. The situations of Utopia. The situation of Utopia. The circumstance of Utopia. The circumstances of Utopia. The circumstance of Utopia. The environment of Utopia. The environments of Utopia. The environment of Utopia. The relationship of Utopia. The relationships of Utopia. The relationship of Utopia. The number of Utopia. The numbers of Utopia. The number of Utopia. The formula of Utopia. The formulas of Utopia. The formula of Utopia. The equation of Utopia. The equations of Utopia. The equation of Utopia. The theory of Utopia. The theories of Utopia. The theory of Utopia. The symbol of Utopia. The symbols of Utopia. The symbol of Utopia. The color of Utopia. The colors of Utopia. The color of Utopia. The thing of Utopia. The things of Utopia. The thing of Utopia. The way of Utopia. The ways of Utopia. The way of Utopia. The place of Utopia. The places of Utopia. The place of Utopia. The time of Utopia. The times of Utopia. The time of Utopia. The event of Utopia. The events of Utopia. The event of Utopia. The result of Utopia. The results of Utopia. The result of Utopia. The crown of Utopia. The crowns of Utopia. the crown of Utopia, the throne of Utopia, the thrones of Utopia, the throne of Utopia, the Utopia King, the Utopia Kings, the Utopia Kingdom, the Utopia Kingdoms, the Utopia King's subject, the Utopia King's subjects, the Utopia King's dominion, the Utopia King's dominions, the kingdom of Utopia, the kingdoms of Utopia, the kingdom of Utopia, the Utopia Queen, the Utopia Queens, the Utopia Queendom, the Utopia Queendoms, the Utopia Queen's subject, the Utopia Queen's subjects, the Utopia Queen's dominion, the Utopia Queen's dominions, the Queendom of Utopia, the Queendoms of Utopia, the Queendom of Utopia, the Utopia Prince, the Utopia Princes, the Utopia Princedom, the Utopia Princedoms, the Utopia Prince's subject, the Utopia Prince's subjects, the Utopia Prince's dominion, the Utopia Prince's dominions, the Princedom of Utopia, the Princedoms of Utopia, the Princedom of Utopia, the Utopia Princess, the Utopia Princesses, the Utopia Princessdom, the Utopia Princessdoms, the Utopia Princess's subject, the Utopia Princess's subjects, the Utopia Princess's dominion, the Utopia Princess's dominions, the Princessdom of Utopia, the Princessdoms of Utopia, the Princessdom of Utopia, the Lord of Utopia, the Lords of Utopia, the Lord of Utopia, the Lordess of Utopia, the Lordesses of Utopia, the Lordess of Utopia, the Priest of Utopia, the Priests of Utopia, the Priest of Utopia, the Priestess of Utopia, the Priestesses of Utopia, the Priestess of Utopia, the Ritual of Utopia, the Rituals of Utopia, the Ritual of Utopia, the Shrine of Utopia, the Shrines of Utopia, the Shrine of Utopia, the Temple of Utopia, the Temples of Utopia, the Temple of Utopia, the Leader of Utopia, the Leaders of Utopia, the Leader of Utopia, the Follower of Utopia, the Followers of Utopia, the Follower of Utopia, the Natural Substance of Utopia, the Natural Substances of Utopia, the Natural Substance of Utopia, the Supernatural Substance of Utopia, the Supernatural Substances of Utopia, the Supernatural Substance of Utopia, the Temporal Substance of Utopia, the Temporal Substances of Utopia, the Temporal Substance of Utopia, the Spiritual Substance of Utopia, the Spiritual Substances of Utopia, the Spiritual Substance of Utopia, the Natural Form of Utopia, the Natural Forms of Utopia, the Natural Form of Utopia, the Supernatural Form of Utopia, the Supernatural Forms of Utopia, the Supernatural Form of Utopia, the Temporal Form of Utopia, the Temporal Forms of Utopia, the Temporal Form of Utopia, the Spiritual Form of Utopia, the Spiritual Forms of Utopia, the Spiritual Form of Utopia, the Age of Utopia, the Ages of Utopia, the Age of Utopia, the Era of Utopia, the Eras of Utopia, the Era of Utopia, the Awakener of Utopia, the Awakeners of Utopia, the Awakener of Utopia, the Awakening of Utopia, the Awakenings of Utopia, the Awakening of Utopia, the Realm of Utopia, the Realms of Utopia, the Realm of Utopia, the Dimension of Utopia, the Dimensions of Utopia, the Dimension of Utopia, the Zone of Utopia, the Zones of Utopia, the Zone of Utopia, the Frequency of Utopia, the Frequencies of Utopia, the Frequency of Utopia, the Century of Utopia, the Centuries of Utopia, the Century of Utopia, the Millennium of Utopia, the Millenniums of Utopia, the Millennium of Utopia, the Purpose of Utopia, the Purposes of Utopia, the Purpose of Utopia, the Meaning of Utopia, the Meanings of Utopia, the Meaning of Utopia, the Culture of Utopia, the Cultures of Utopia, the Culture of Utopia, the Demonstrator of Utopia, the Demonstrators of Utopia, the Demonstrator of Utopia, the Demonstration of Utopia, the Demonstrations of Utopia, the Demonstration of Utopia, the Manifester of Utopia, the Manifestors of Utopia, the Manifester of Utopia, The manifestation of utopia. The manifestations of utopia. The manifestation of utopia. The presence of utopia. The presences of utopia. The presence of utopia. The glow of utopia. The glows of utopia. The glow of utopia. The goal of utopia. The goals of utopia. The goal of utopia. The plan of utopia. The plans of utopia. The plan of utopia. The book of utopia. The books of utopia. The book of utopia. The philosopher of utopia. The philosophers of utopia. The philosopher of utopia. The philosophy of utopia. The philosophies of utopia. The philosophy of utopia. The releaser of utopia. The releasers of utopia. The releaser of utopia. The release of utopia. The releases of utopia. The release of utopia. The variable of utopia. The variables of utopia. The variable of utopia. The cause of utopia. The causes of utopia. The cause of utopia. The effect of utopia. The effects of utopia. The effect of utopia. The journey of utopia. The journeys of utopia. The journey of utopia. The emergence of utopia. The emergences of utopia. The emergence of utopia. The source of utopia. The sources of utopia. The source of utopia. The originator of utopia. The originators of utopia. The originator of utopia. The origin of utopia. The origins of utopia. The origin of utopia. The forefather of utopia. The forefathers of utopia. The forefather of utopia. The foremother of utopia. The foremothers of utopia. The foremother of utopia. The ancestor of utopia. The ancestors of utopia. The ancestor of utopia. The descendant of utopia. The descendants of utopia. The descendant of utopia. The lineage of utopia. The lineages of utopia. The lineage of utopia. The heritage of utopia. The heritages of utopia. The heritage of utopia. The heir of utopia. The heirs of utopia. The heir of utopia. The co-heir of utopia. The co-heirs of utopia. The co-heir of utopia. The joint heir of utopia. The joint heirs of utopia. The joint heir of utopia. The dynasty of utopia. The dynasties of utopia. The dynasty of utopia. The force of utopia. The forces of utopia. The force of utopia. The law of utopia. The laws of utopia. The law of utopia. The pact of utopia. The pacts of utopia. The pact of utopia. The game of utopia. The games of utopia. The game of utopia. The mask of utopia. The masks of utopia. The mask of utopia. The armor of utopia. The armors of utopia. The armor of utopia. The sword of utopia. The swords of utopia. The sword of utopia. The shield of utopia. The shields of utopia. The shield of utopia. The force shield of utopia. The force shields of utopia. The force shield of utopia. The armored force shield of utopia. The armored force shields of utopia. The armored force shield of utopia. The champion of utopia. The champions of utopia. The champion of utopia. The guardian of utopia. The guardians of utopia. The guardian of utopia. The defender of utopia. The defenders of utopia. The defender of utopia. The protector of utopia. The protectors of utopia. The protector of utopia. The chant of utopia. The chants of utopia. The chant of utopia. The shape of utopia. The shapes of utopia. The shape of utopia. The cube of utopia. The cubes of utopia. The cube of utopia. The cuboid of utopia. The cuboids of utopia. The cuboid of utopia. The sphere of utopia. The spheres of utopia. The sphere of utopia. The spheroid of utopia. The spheroids of utopia. The spheroid of utopia. The prism of utopia. The prisms of utopia. The prism of utopia. The pyramid of utopia. The pyramids of utopia. The pyramid of utopia. The cylinder of utopia. The cylinders of utopia. The cylinder of utopia. The cone of utopia. The cones of utopia. The cone of utopia. The triangle of utopia. The triangles of utopia. The triangle of utopia. The circle of utopia. The circles of utopia. The circle of Utopia. The semicircle of Utopia. The semicircles of Utopia. The semicircle of Utopia. The square of Utopia. The squares of Utopia. The square of Utopia. The rectangle of Utopia. The rectangles of Utopia. The rectangle of Utopia. The parallelogram of Utopia. The parallelograms of Utopia. The parallelogram of Utopia. The rhombus of Utopia. The rhombuses of Utopia. The rhombus of Utopia. The trapezoid of Utopia. The trapezoids of Utopia. The trapezoid of Utopia. The polygon of Utopia. The polygons of Utopia. The polygon of Utopia. The pentagon of Utopia. The pentagons of Utopia. The pentagon of Utopia. The hexagon of Utopia. The hexagons of Utopia. The hexagon of Utopia. The septagon of Utopia. The septagons of Utopia. The septagon of Utopia. The octagon of Utopia. The octagons of Utopia. The octagon of Utopia. The nonagon of Utopia. The nonagons of Utopia. The nonagon of Utopia. The decagon of Utopia. The decagons of Utopia. The decagon of Utopia. The evolution of Utopia. The evolutions of Utopia. The evolution of Utopia. The revolution of Utopia. The revolutions of Utopia. The revolution of Utopia. The elemental art of Utopia. The elemental arts of Utopia. The elemental art of Utopia. The elemental science of Utopia. The elemental sciences of Utopia. The elemental science of Utopia. The elemental principle of Utopia. The elemental principles of Utopia. The elemental principle of Utopia. The elemental technology of Utopia. The elemental technologies of Utopia. The elemental technology of Utopia. The low elemental art of Utopia. The low elemental arts of Utopia. The low elemental art of Utopia. The low elemental science of Utopia. The low elemental sciences of Utopia. The low elemental science of Utopia. The low elemental principle of Utopia. The low elemental principles of Utopia. The low elemental principle of Utopia. The low elemental technology of Utopia. The low elemental technologies of Utopia. The low elemental technology of Utopia. The high elemental art of Utopia. The high elemental arts of Utopia. The high elemental art of Utopia. The high elemental science of Utopia. The high elemental sciences of Utopia. The high elemental science of Utopia. The high elemental principle of Utopia. The high elemental principles of Utopia. The high elemental principle of Utopia. The high elemental technology of Utopia. The high elemental technologies of Utopia. The high elemental technology of Utopia. The agent of Utopia. The agents of Utopia. The agent of Utopia. The agency of Utopia. The agencies of Utopia. The agency of Utopia. The amplifier of Utopia. The amplifiers of Utopia. The amplifier of Utopia. The amplification of Utopia. The amplifications of Utopia. The amplification of Utopia. The enhancer of Utopia. The enhancers of Utopia. The enhancer of Utopia. The enhancement of Utopia. The enhancements of Utopia. The enhancement of Utopia. The magnifier of Utopia. The magnifiers of Utopia. The magnifier of Utopia. The magnification of Utopia. The magnifications of Utopia. The magnification of Utopia. The influencer of Utopia. The influencers of Utopia. The influencer of Utopia. The influence of Utopia. The influences of Utopia. The influence of Utopia. The emanator of Utopia. The emanators of Utopia. The emanator of Utopia. The emanation of Utopia. The emanations of Utopia. The emanation of Utopia. The converger of Utopia. The convergers of Utopia. The converger of Utopia. The convergence of Utopia. The convergences of Utopia. The convergence of Utopia. The aura of Utopia. The auras of Utopia. The aura of Utopia. The impression of Utopia. The impressions of Utopia. The impression of Utopia. The intelligence of Utopia. The intelligences of Utopia. The intelligence of Utopia. The sophistication of Utopia. The sophistications of Utopia. The sophistication of Utopia. The genius of Utopia. The geniuses of Utopia. The genius of Utopia. The polymath of Utopia. The polymaths of Utopia. the polymath of Utopia, the psychic of Utopia, the psychics of Utopia, the psychic of Utopia, the knowledge of Utopia, the knowledges of Utopia, the knowledge of Utopia, the understanding of Utopia, the understandings of Utopia, the understanding of Utopia, the wisdom of Utopia, the wisdoms of Utopia, the wisdom of Utopia, the secret of Utopia, the secrets of Utopia, the secret of Utopia, the mystery of Utopia, the mysteries of Utopia, the mystery of Utopia, the revelation of Utopia, the revelations of Utopia, the revelation of Utopia, the tactic of Utopia, the tactics of Utopia, the tactic of Utopia, the strategy of Utopia, the strategies of Utopia, the strategy of Utopia, the strength of Utopia, the strengths of Utopia, the strength of Utopia, the might of Utopia, the mights of Utopia, the might of Utopia, the power of Utopia, the powers of Utopia, the power of Utopia, the authority of Utopia, the authorities of Utopia, the authority of Utopia, the dominion of Utopia, the dominions of Utopia, the dominion of Utopia, the rhythm of Utopia, the rhythms of Utopia, the rhythm of Utopia, the melody of Utopia, the melodies of Utopia, the melody of Utopia, the music of Utopia, the musics of Utopia, the music of Utopia, the lyric of Utopia, the lyrics of Utopia, the lyric of Utopia, the song of Utopia, the songs of Utopia, the song of Utopia, the dance of Utopia, the dances of Utopia, the dance of Utopia, the spirit of Utopia, the spirits of Utopia, the spirit of Utopia, the soul of Utopia, the souls of Utopia, the soul of Utopia, the body of Utopia, the bodies of Utopia, the body of Utopia, the mark of Utopia, the marks of Utopia, the mark of Utopia, the promise of Utopia, the promises of Utopia, the promise of Utopia, the visionary of Utopia, the visionaries of Utopia, the visionary of Utopia, the vision of Utopia, the visions of Utopia, the vision of Utopia, the picture of Utopia, the pictures of Utopia, the picture of Utopia, the sound of Utopia, the sounds of Utopia, the sound of Utopia, the dung of Utopia, the dungs of Utopia, the dung of Utopia, the language of Utopia, the languages of Utopia, the language of Utopia, the communication of Utopia, the communications of Utopia, the communication of Utopia, the people of Utopia, the peoples of Utopia, the people of Utopia, the society of Utopia, the societies of Utopia, the society of Utopia, the fortress of Utopia, the fortresses of Utopia, the fortress of Utopia, the government of Utopia, the governments of Utopia, the government of Utopia, the city of Utopia, the cities of Utopia, the city of Utopia, the nation of Utopia, the nations of Utopia, the nation of Utopia, the civilization of Utopia, the civilizations of Utopia, the civilization of Utopia, the world of Utopia, the worlds of Utopia, the world of Utopia,